guys, Jennifer Carney here. I was asked to make another video referring to slope intercept form and point slope form. I got a couple questions about that, so I wanted to go over just a couple things with you. One question that I got asked from someone is, what if you're just given the slope? I'm going to give you an example of, let's say, slope is -8 and y-intercept. And I'm going to give you the example of that. The y-intercept is 9. They said, what do I do with this information? I'm just given a slope and a y-intercept, and how do I put that in? Well, if you remember, your point slope form or your y-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, if you're unfamiliar with that, go back a couple videos and watch that to get a refresher. All you're going to do is put this information in. Your slope is your m. So wherever you see your m, I'm going to put -8. And then your y-intercept is your b. That is +9. That is your answer. It's as simple as that. So you're just taking slope and putting it in place of m, y-intercept and putting it in place of b. One thing I'm going to ask you to watch out for is right here. Make sure if this is a negative number, that you change this positive right here to a negative. Okay, so that would be the only change that I would want you to watch out for. If they give you a y-intercept that is a negative number, you want to make sure that that becomes a negative right here instead of a plus sign. Okay, so just simply put those in. And don't be afraid of fractions either. Let's do another example with a fraction. I know people freak out when they see fractions, but don't be afraid. They won't hurt you. So what if I gave you this? You would do the same thing. I always lead by writing out my base formula, which is the y equals mx plus b. I'll switch colors here for you. And then my slope is -1. You can also write this as just -x if you want. You can drop the 1. And then your y-intercept is -3/4. And so either one of these equations. But notice I dropped the plus sign and changed it to a negative because there was a negative hanging out here. Either one of these is the correct answer. You can have a 1 here or not. Ask your teacher about that to be specific. Some teachers don't like you to hold the 1 there. So it's great that you get to this point, but then for your final answer, they may want you to kind of switch it to this. So just make sure you're doing what your individual teacher likes. So you're just taking that slope and the y-intercept. I'd rather have a test over these all day long. I can kind of punch and go on those. Another question I got, example 3 here, was when we talk about vertical and horizontal lines. I'm going to put over here. Remember that a vertical line goes up and down, and a horizontal line goes side to side. Okay, vertical lines have have slopes that are undefined. There is no slope. And horizontal lines have slopes of 0. So a question that somebody got on a homework sheet that they asked me about, their teacher wrote this. They wrote, I want you to write an equation. It has a vertical slope and it passes through 4, 7. Let me make sure I erase that right there so it doesn't look like a negative. Passes through 4, 7. If you kind of get stuck on this, do me a favor. Graph this point. So come over here and just sketch a little graph on your scratch paper, the side of your paper. And let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, walk to the elevator, then take it up or down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would be about right here, right? We're just sketching. It's not, this graph isn't a grade. And so I plotted that point right here. And then it tells me it wants a vertical line. Guys, a vertical line goes straight up and down. All you're going to do, that means that it's just right here. Okay? So your line is actually whatever axis it crosses through. This happens to be the x-axis, and it crosses through the 4. This is your equation, y'all. That's it. Not that y equals mx plus b stuff, because you don't have a slope here. You do not have a slope. So that is actually your answer. Okay, what if we did, example 4 here, what if I said horizontal line, and I want it to contain point -1, -5. Now, contain and passes through is the same thing, so don't freak out by seeing a different wording there. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to just sketch this over here so I can get a visual idea of what am I looking at here. -1 is to the left, and then down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just hand sketching this. I've got a dot right here. It is horizontal, so I am going to draw a horizontal line that goes through that point. Look at there it is. Now, what axis does it go through? That line goes through the y-axis right here. So the line is going to be named y, and then it's going to be named for whatever number it crosses through, and it crosses through -5. That is your equation for that line. Anytime you're talking about a horizontal or vertical line, you're either just going to have an x equals equation or a y equals equation. You're not going to have a slope and all that other stuff that we've been doing before. So anytime it talks about vertical or horizontal line, you should just have an x equation or a y equation, depending if it's asking for vertical or horizontal. I always find it easier to go ahead and draw a little graph so I can just visualize what it is instead of having to memorize a bunch of stuff. Last example here, example 4. I had someone ask me, what if they tell me that the slope is, let's say, 4, and it passes through 5, 1. Okay, so this is where I am going to have to refer back to my formula. So remember, I always like to write my base formula. It'll be on the border on your formula chart for you. I know that my slope is 4, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in place of the m because I know that slope is m. Remember, this is your x and your y over here. That's an ordered pair. You have an x and y, so in place of y, I'm going to put 1. And in place of x, I am going to put 5. That leaves me with b. So all I did was take the information that they gave me and put it into this y equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to go ahead and solve for b. So my 1 stays the same. 4 times 5 is 20. If you're unsure of that, just punch in your calculator. Plus b. I need to get b by itself. So in order to get b by itself, I have to take the opposite of 20 to the other side of the equation. Opposite of 20 is -20. What I do to one side of the equation, I do to the other side. Good job. So this is going to cancel out. This is going to give me -19 over here equals b. I now have everything I need to write and do this formula. You no longer need this piece of information. That was just to help you find b. So if I go back, I'm going to put it into my y equals mx plus b formula. Y equals the slope that they gave me 4. Drop down your x, and then it's going to be -19. The reason why it's minus, do you know? Is because it came out a negative. Okay, so you have to make sure that you go ahead and switch that because it is a negative. You don't ever want to put plus a negative. That's just not the proper way to write it. So I took this information, I used my x and my y to plug into my formula here, and then I solved for b. I then had to come and replace everything back into the formula over here. Okay, so that's what's getting complicated for people. They're thinking they should just stop right here like we did in the last video. Okay, so anytime you have a slope, just put it in for m. And then if you have a b value, or I'm sorry, if you have a point, put those points in and solve for your b value. Anytime you have fractions or any numbers that are difficult, just go ahead and punch those in your calculator. Don't freak out about those. There's no reason you have to do those all in your head. I'll be doing more videos that build off of this, so look forward to those. If you have any questions or videos or anything that you need help on, please comment below or send us an email like the people did to get me to film this video, and I'd be happy to film a video to better explain things for you. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.